Thunder cracked over the glass towers of Orion Prime. Purple clouds flashed with white fire as midnight storms wrapped the royal palace. Inside the throne room, King Zaltar pounded his jeweled staff on the marble floor. Every courtier shook. "Find the human," the king roared. His eyes, bright as twin suns, burned with anger. "He tricked my daughter. He shamed our family. Bring him to me alive." The guards bowed and sprinted out. Their silver boots clanged along crystal corridors. Behind them, whispers spread like sparks. "Human? The princess is with child. Impossible, she was judged infertile." High on a balcony, old Counselor Varix wiped sweat from his forehead. He had pushed for the idea of giving the princess a foreign companion, a gift from another world. The plan was simple: distract the lonely princess, calm the angry king, and show that Orion was open to peace. No one had guessed the strange result. Below, Captain Lisek spoke first. "Your Majesty," he said, kneeling, "we believe the child is half human." The king's face twisted. "Half?" He spat the word as if it tasted like poison. "That is why the princess still lives," Varix whispered from the shadows. "The child renewed her health. The court healers confirm it." The king turned to Varix. "You promised me heirs for the throne, not a rumor of impurity." His staff struck the floor again. Thin cracks crept across the marble like frozen lightning dot at the far end of the hall. Tall doors opened. "Princess." Mira stepped in, a veil of silver cloth hiding her face. Two handmaidens guided her, fearing she might stumble. Her stomach, once flat, now lifted the fabric in a gentle curve. The entire court fell silent. Mira stood before her father and lowered her hood. "Father," she said softly, "Ethan is no trickster. He saved my life when my heart was weak." The king tried to soften his voice. "He is human, Myra. Their blood is unstable. Their kind live only 80 years while we live centuries. The throne needs strong heirs, not fragile ones." Mira's chin rose. "The child is strong. The healers said so." "The healers tremble before me," the king answered. "They would tell me any lie I wish to hear." He looked at the captain. "Where is the human now?" "Your Majesty," Captain Lisek said, "Ethan waits in the moon gallery." The king waved his hand. "Seize him. Put him in chains." The echo of his order rolled across the chamber. Myra reached out. "No, father, please. Listen to me." Guards moved quickly. Two took the princess by the arms, as gentle as possible. 4 more hurried toward the moon gallery. Their armor mirrored the lightning outside. Moon gallery. Moments later, Ethan stood under a glass dome that showed swirling stars. He had brown hair, sand-colored skin, and explorer's boots still stained with dust from distant worlds. In his hands he carried a small wooden music box. He turned its silver crank, and quiet notes drifted around him, an old earth lullaby his mother once sang. He knew trouble was coming. The footsteps were too loud, too many. He placed the box in his pocket and raised both hands as the guards aimed energy spears at his chest. "I will go peacefully," Ethan said. His voice was steady, though his heart thundered. "But tell the princess the child is strong. Tell her I feel the heartbeat." The guards yanked metal cuffs over his wrists. Cold light flowed through the shackles, canceling any sudden moves. Ethan winced but did not fight. He could not risk harming the life growing inside Myra Dot as they marched him through bright hallways. Servants peeked from doorways. Some gasped. Others whispered prayers. A few even touched their own stomachs, as if hoping for miracles. One servant, brave and small, slipped a folded cloth into Ethan's hand. "For the baby," she mouthed. It was a tiny blanket embroidered with stars. Guards shoved Ethan into the lift. Crystal doors slid shut. Down he went, into the bowels of the palace where light grew scarce, and the air tasted like dust. Dungeon hall's water dripped from stone arches. Blue torches hissed. Ethan's boots splashed in shallow puddles. At the final cell, the captain unlocked the door, pushed Ethan inside, and locked it again without a word. Ethan exhaled. A thin beam of moonlight slid through a crack in the wall, the only comfort in that place. He sat on a bench and pulled out the music box. Turning the crank slowly, he listened to the faint tune. Over the gentle notes he whispered, "Hold on, Mira. For you, for the child, I will endure." Outside, thunder blasted once more. The palace shook. But deeper still, far past the noise of storms, Ethan felt a softer rhythm, a tiny heartbeat inside a brave princess. He smiled despite his chains out throne room. Same night Princess Myra had refused to rest. She knelt before her father. "If you hurt him, I will never forgive you," she said. "The child needs his father." The king's anger faltered for a breath, seeing his daughter so pale yet so strong. But pride rose again. "A king must protect his line, Myra, and I fear impurity." Myra placed a gentle hand on her stomach. "Then look," she whispered, guiding his palm to the small rise beneath her gown. The king felt warmth, life, true and steady. For the first time, doubt pierced the king's iron heart. High above, lightning faded. A single star broke through the clouds, shining on Orion Prime, yet danger had only begun. In hidden corners, envious nobles whispered of poison, exile, or worse. The night held its breath, knowing dawn would bring fury, hope, and choices that could change two worlds forever. The dungeon beneath Orion Prime wasn't just cold, it was alive. Walls pulsed faintly with blue veins of energy, whispering old secrets through the stone. Strange insects scurried in corners, glowing softly like dying stars. And deep inside, behind thick bars and humming force fields, Ethan sat alone until the silence broke. A soft voice, low and trembling, echoed from the dark cell beside his. "You shouldn't have come here, human." Ethan looked up. The voice was not Mira's. It was older, slower, but sad. "Who's there?" he asked. A figure leaned into the light from a small slit in the wall, an elder alien, pale-skinned and blind in one eye. A former royal scribe, he had been forgotten by the kingdom years ago. "I've seen what happens to outsiders," said, "especially ones who give the royal line something the king himself could not." Ethan shifted closer. "You mean the child?" The elder nodded. "You broke a curse, Earthman. But you also broke a law older than the stars." Above them, guards marched, their boots echoing through the halls. In the tower chambers, Princess Mira stood at her window, her hand resting gently on her belly. Her mind was full of fear, but also fire. She had loved quietly for too long. Now her heart refused to stay silent. She disguised herself again, this time in the robes of a healer. With a hood low over her face, she moved through palace shadows like smoke. Toward the forbidden stairs that led to the dungeon. She passed whispering servants. Some nodded, others gasped. But no one dared stop her. Back in the dungeon, Ethan listened to the old scribes speak of prophecy. They say one day a child will be born who is neither fully Orion nor fully other. This child will unite the burning suns and bring peace. But the royals always feared it. That's why they kept your kind away. Ethan laughed bitterly. "I'm just a shuttle mechanic." "I wasn't trying to fulfill any prophecy," the scribe smiled. "Prophecies don't ask permission, they just happen." Suddenly, the wall behind Ethan's cell glowed. A section of it opened like water folding back, a secret entrance. Myra stepped through, her hood falling to reveal tired eyes, glowing with emotion. "Ethan," she whispered. He stood up fast, moving to the edge of the barrier. "Myra, are you okay? Is the baby?" She nodded, eyes shining. "We're both safe, for now." They couldn't touch, not through the shield, but they leaned close, breathing the same heavy air. "I had to see you," she said. "Father has sent for the blood priests." They want to test the child's DNA. Ethan's face darkened. And if it's not pure enough, they will erase it, she said. Her voice cracked. They call it cleansing the bloodline. A noise echoed down the hall, heavy, fast footsteps. Myra froze. They're coming. She reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small device. This can weaken the barrier for 30 seconds. Enough for you to pass through, but only once. Ethan looked at her in shock. You want me to escape? No, she said. I want you to hide inside the palace. There's a chamber behind the Queen's garden. It was my mother's safe place. No one remembers it. Ethan hesitated. I won't leave you behind. You're not, Myra said, touching the wall between them. You're saving our child. She pressed the device to the barrier. It blinked red, yellow, green. The force field shimmered like a disturbed lake. Ethan stepped through. The old scribe gasped from the next cell. You've chosen fire. Girl, the scribe warned. Be ready to burn. They ran. Not through open halls, but through forgotten vents, hollow walls, and behind old tapestries. Mira knew every hidden step, every silent passage. Just before dawn, they reached the Queen's garden, a dead garden now. Vines long turned to ash. But beneath a cracked statue, Mira pulled up a floor panel. A dark stairway descended. Go, she whispered. Ethan climbed down. Before the panel closed, he looked up. Mira, if anything happens to me, it won't, she said. But if it does, the child will know your name. The panel shut out above. The king stood before the priests. Begin the ritual. He ordered. I want the truth of this bloodline. But truth was no longer in his hands. It was hiding in the shadows of a ruined garden, where a half-human child grew stronger by the hour, and the stars themselves were beginning to stir. Inside the hidden chamber beneath the ruined Queen's garden, it was so quiet that Ethan could hear the heartbeat. Not his own dot, it was softer, smaller, steady, like the rhythm of a growing star. He placed his palm on the scanner pad beside. The crystal wall. The ancient tech, built by Myra's mother long ago, still worked. Lights blinked. A small screen lit up, showing two pulses, one larger, one tiny, glowing bright. The baby was alive, still growing. Still strong. Ethan leaned back, relief washing over him like warm rain. You're a fighter, he whispered, just like your mom. But time was running out. Above him, the palace was changing. That morning, strange news spread fast across Orion Prime. A royal physician was caught crying in the halls. She had seen something in a scan, something unnatural, she said. And before anyone could question her further, she vanished. Her lab was sealed by palace guards. At breakfast, courtiers whispered over their spiced fruit. Did you hear? The princess carries a hybrid. But she was born infertile. Could the child be the heir the stars promised? Whispers turned to fear. And fear, in the palace, turned to silence. Orders came down. No one was to speak of the child again. But it was too late. The rumor had escaped. In the library towers, an old scholar named Rin unlocked a forbidden scroll. His hands trembled as he read the words from ancient prophecy. One born of stardust and stranger's blood shall mend the broken crown. He stared out the window toward the sky garden. It has begun, he muttered. And deep within the palace, others were also watching. A secret chamber, black walls, no light, no windows. Here, the king met with his silent generals. They wore armor as dark as the void and spoke only when spoken. 2. The child, the king said slowly, must not survive. One general stepped forward. Shall we act before the naming ritual? Yes, the king said, but quietly, no war. No blood in the open. I want the people calm. A second general asked, and the princess? The king turned to the fire behind him. She will grieve, but she will survive. Outside, lightning struck the tallest spire. Back in the hidden room, Ethan studied old equipment. Mira had left him supplies, blankets, nutrient tubes, a communication orb. But the most important item was a portable human stethoscope. He pressed it to Myra's old chair. The tiny heartbeat echoed. Again, but it wasn't alone. There was movement above footsteps. He quickly shut off the lights and crawled. Behind a stack of memory crystals, 2 servants entered. Cleaners? Spies? They looked around. Nothing here. One said, just dust. But the panel was disturbed, the other replied. Ethan held his breath. If they looked beneath the bench. A soft sound saved him, the heartbeat. It echoed through a nearby speaker. The 2 froze. Did you hear that? Like a child. They looked at each other and ran. Ethan exhaled. Hours later, Mira visited the royal temple. She wore a white robe, now symbol of future mothers. Her steps were slow, tired, but graceful. An elder priest touched her shoulder. You walk in starlight, princess, but many shadows follow. She nodded. I know. The priest offered her a gift, a golden disc used to test royal blood purity. But Myra refused. The child is of this world now, she said. If it lives, it belongs here. The priest watched her go, unsure whether to bless her or fear her. That night, Mira returned to the hidden chamber through a secret vent. Ethan looked up, smiling. You should rest. She shook her head. There's no time. She handed him a small cube. This holds the original scan. 2 heartbeats, mine and the child's. But look closer. He activated the cube. Blue holograms glowed in the air. One pulse was clearly alien, but the second, it's not just human, Ethan said. Myra nodded. It's more. A mix. But stronger, faster, it adapts. The doctors were too scared to say it out loud. But this child is something new. Ethan looked at her. Then why are they trying to destroy it? Because they fear change, she whispered. And because the prophecy is real. Ethan held the cube tight. Then we protect the future, no matter what. They sat together in the flickering glow of a child yet to be born, half alien, half human, but already the most important life in 2 galaxies. But far above them, a shadow entered the king's chambers. A silent general knelt. It is done, he whispered. What is done? The king asked. The general lowered his head. We planted the poison. The king closed his eyes. Then tomorrow she will weep. Lightning returned that night. But this time, the storm carried more than rain. It carried war. The moon above Orion Prime was blood red that night. It cast strange shadows across the Queen's Garden ruins. Statues looked like ghosts. Wind whispered like warnings. Ethan didn't sleep. He stood at the chamber window, watching the night twist. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Even the birds, those glowing sky creatures that always sang, were silent. Inside the chamber, Mira stirred from her blanket, clutching her belly. The baby. It's kicking, she whispered, smiling. Ethan knelt beside her. That's good. That means the child is strong. But deep down, Ethan's instincts screamed. A silence this heavy always meant danger. Elsewhere in the palace, a forbidden door opened. 6 shadow blades stepped through, dressed in midnight armor. Their faces were hidden. No words. No mercy. They were the king's personal assassins, trained to erase threats before sunrise. Their orders. No traces. No sound. And the child. One of them carried a small vial of poison. Just 3 drops. Enough to still a heartbeat forever. They moved like wind through tunnels, halls, forgotten paths. Until they reached the Queen's Garden. The hunt had begun. Back in the chamber, Ethan froze. A light flickered on the sensor panel, red, then flashing. What is it? Mira asked. Ethan whispered. Motion outside. Someone's coming. He grabbed the only thing close by, a mining pick from his exploration gear. Not a weapon, but it had saved his life once before. He looked at Myra. Hide behind the energy crates. Stay low. No matter what happens, protect the child. Myra didn't argue. She knew what this meant. The lights dimmed. A hiss, then the panel slid open. One shadow blade stepped inside, silent as death. His eyes glowed faint green. Ethan didn't wait. He charged. The pickaxe clanged against the assassin's blade. Sparks flew. The shadow moved too fast, but Ethan was faster than most humans. Years of surviving alien landscapes had sharpened him. He ducked, rolled, swung again. The blade sliced past his cheek. Blood. Drip. Two more shadows entered the room. Ethan backed up slowly. "This isn't a rescue," he muttered. "This is an execution." In her hiding place, Myra closed her eyes. She touched her belly gently and whispered, "Be calm, little star. Your father is brave." She activated the emergency beacon in her bracelet, one built by her mother, hidden from the king's systems. Far away, a forbidden tower lit up in blue. Someone old and forgotten. Noticed. Back in the chamber, Ethan slammed the pick into the wall light. Sparks exploded. The room went dark. Only moonlight poured through the crack in the roof. He used the shadows, kicked over crates, threw sound grenades. The assassins spread out, confused for just a second. That was enough. Ethan tackled one, stole his blade, and spun it toward the second. But the third reached Myra. He lifted the poison vial. "No!" Ethan shouted. Myra rolled aside just as the vial hit the floor and shattered. A green mist rose. The air stung. Myra coughed. "It burns." Ethan lunged, slicing the assassin's leg. The shadow fell. But the poison was spreading. Ethan grabbed Myra and ran through the hidden panel. Behind them, flames burst from the spilled chemical. The child kicked again. Harder this time. Alive. Still alive. They ran down a narrow tunnel Myra hadn't used in years. Cracks lined the walls. Old roots grew between the stones. "Where does this go?" Ethan asked. "To my mother's chamber," Myra said. "But there's a reason it was sealed. Something lives there." Ethan didn't ask questions. Behind them, the assassins gave chase. Ahead, a golden door stood closed, sealed by a lock of ancient design. Myra placed her hand on it. The door scanned her blood, then opened. Inside was darkness. But it was warm. And waiting. The assassin stopped outside the door. One stepped forward. Then suddenly, boom! A wave of psychic energy blasted through the tunnel. The shadows screamed, grabbing their heads. Images flashed in their minds, visions of stars dying, children crying, alien voices shouting, "Protect the blood of unity." They fled. Back in the chamber, Myra collapsed. Ethan caught her. "What was that?" She looked up, weak but smiling. "The spirit of my mother. She protected us." Above, the king stood on his tower, sensing the energy. He clenched his fists. "She awakened the old one." A general stepped forward. "Shall we continue the attack?" "No," the king growled. "Change the plan. The people must not see a murderer. We'll call for a trial. Let the world judge the human. And while they watch, we end the air quietly." In the secret chamber, Myra rested against Ethan's chest. The baby was calm again. Its heartbeat strong. "You saved us," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "You did. I just held the line." He looked at the sleeping room, the symbols, the warmth, the old magic. He finally understood. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was sacred ground. The child they carried was no accident. It was a spark meant to change the galaxy, and now the galaxy would try to crush it. Above the great city of Orion Prime, 3 moons aligned for the first time in a century. The sky turned violet. The people gathered in silence. A floating platform rose above the capital's central plaza, shining like silver fire. Around it, thousands of Orion citizens floated in gravity rings, watching. From children to scholars, nobles to soldiers, Every eye waited for judgment. At the center of the arena stood Ethan, hands bound in glowing cuffs. A chain ran from his wrist to the floor, glowing with the king's seal. His face was bruised from the earlier fight, but his back stayed straight. The king's voice echoed from a floating balcony. Let the trial of the stars begin. 3 trials. Ancient law. No one, not even an alien outsider, could be sentenced without passing or failing the trials of the crown. Trial 1. Courage. Trial 2. Honor. Trial 3. Sacrifice. If Ethan passed, the people would vote. If he failed, his life and the child's would be taken before dawn. Princess Myra watched from a guarded sky chamber. Her hand never left her stomach. The baby kicked wildly, as if sensing what was happening. Trial 1. Courage. The floor beneath Ethan vanished. He dropped into a pit of crystal flames, fire that didn't burn skin, but burned the mind. Around him circled a phantom beast, an energy creature born from old wars. It could smell fear and feed on it. Ethan stood still, breathing deeply. The beast moved closer, invisible at first, then flashing like a broken mirror. Most challengers screamed, fled, cried, but Ethan didn't run. He whispered, I've faced black holes, vacuum storms, and dying planets. I've held a newborn heartbeat in my hand. You don't scare me. The beast roared. Then it bowed. Trial 1. Passed. Trial 2. Honor. Ethan was brought to a chamber with 3 doors. Behind one, his freedom. Behind another, Myra's safety. Behind the third, the child's life. He could choose only one. The king's voice rang out. Pick, human. Only one path can be saved. Ethan stared at the doors. 3 guards waited to drag him wherever he chose. He shook his head. I choose. None, he said. Gasps from the crowd. I won't sacrifice one to save another. That's not honor. That's fear disguised as law. He sat on the floor. The doors vanished. A judge in golden armor stood and declared, You have passed. Trial 3. Sacrifice. This time, Ethan was led into a memory chamber. A machine linked to his brain. He saw Earth, his old home, his mother's bakery, his little brother waiting at the shuttle docks. A voice spoke in his ear. Step into the light and you return to Earth. No pain, no chains, no war. You'll live free. He moved toward the light. Stop. Then turned around. I can't, he whispered. The child needs me. Myra needs me. If I walk away, I lose more than myself. The light faded. The memory vanished. The chamber opened. Now Ethan stood again before the people. His chains were gone. The golden judge asked the crowd, What say you? For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then the cheer came. 1 voice, then 10. Then thousands. Let the outsider live. Let the child be born. He is one of us. The king's jaw tightened. His fingers crushed the edge of his throne. Princess Myra wept silently, but in a shadowed tower, a second plan was already moving. The blood priests, dressed in black and red, prepared a ritual unlike any before. In a dark crystal basin, they had placed a piece of Ethan's old blood taken while he slept weeks ago. They would use it to find the child, and when they found it, they would strike. In the celebration, Myra was taken back to her chamber for safety. Ethan was led by soldiers to clean quarters. They did not meet. Not yet. But from the queen's garden below, blue flowers suddenly bloomed out of season, glowing in the moonlight. An old omen. When life blooms from death, change has come. Back in the city, the people sang songs of peace. Children painted stars on their faces. The markets overflowed with light, but Ethan, standing at the edge of his temporary room, looked up at the moons. I won the trial, he whispered, but deep inside, he knew something wasn't right. The trial was never the end. It was just the beginning of the real war. The city looked calm on the surface. but under the glowing towers of Orion Prime. The fire had already started. In narrow alleys, quiet hands passed secret scrolls. On rooftops, young rebels whispered new songs. In market stalls, the common people traded food and fury. The people had watched the trial of the stars. They saw the human past tests that even their own kings had once failed. And now, they were beginning to ask a forbidden question. If the human has honor, then who's the real danger? Inside the palace, Princess Mira was no longer just the king's daughter. She was now the mother of the future. The air around her felt different. Servants bowed deeper. Healers smiled longer. But it wasn't all love. Eyes watched her cold eyes. Old nobles, court priests, even some of her own blood. The queen's sister, Lady Varan, had returned from exile. She brought gifts and fake smiles. Such joy, she said, touching Myra's stomach. A child made from stardust and stranger's blood. Mira smiled politely, but inside her heart beat faster. She knew poison when she heard it. Far away, in a shadowed bunker under the gardens, Ethan waited. He hadn't seen Mira since the trial. He trained in silence, lifting metal beams, testing old weapons, building a signal beacon from scraps. But his mind stayed on one thing, the baby. Sometimes, when the room was quiet enough, he could hear the child's soft heartbeat through the walls, a small hope in a galaxy of danger. That night, someone knocked on Ethan's chamber door. It wasn't a guard. It wasn't Myra. It was Scholar Rin, the one who had once read the ancient prophecy. He stepped inside, holding a scroll with trembling fingers. I translated the full verse, he whispered. And there's something more. Ethan leaned forward. What is it? Rin read, when the mixed blood stirs the throne, fire shall rise from servant's bone. The child will wake what's long been lost, but peace will come at terrible cost. Ethan stood still. Terrible cost, Rin nodded. The child's birth will spark rebellion, but someone must fall. That rebellion sparked sooner than expected. At the southern wall of the city, a palace cook shouted at a soldier. My cousin is jailed for speaking the human's name. The soldier slapped him. A fruit vendor saw it and threw a glowing melon. Then a child kicked a soldier's leg. A moment later, chaos. Fists flew, shields clashed, and just like that, a fire of fury exploded. By sunrise, 5 city sectors were under rebel control. They called themselves the Heir's Guard. The king called for silence, but no one listened. He ordered more troops, but half of them refused. He finally summoned the blood priests again. This time, he said, strike the child directly. The priests obeyed. In the royal chambers, Mira lay resting on a soft couch. She felt weak more than usual. Her hands shook. Her heartbeat slowed. Something was wrong. She called for a healer, but none came. Instead, Lady Varan entered again. This time without a smile. You were always too soft, she whispered. Mira tried to rise. What did you do? Varan smiled coldly. A drop of shadowroot in your tea. A royal herb, slow and deadly. But not to you. Just to the little thing inside you. Mira gasped, grabbing her stomach. But before Varan could leave, a wall exploded behind her. Ethan burst through, smoke, sparks, blade in hand. Varan screamed, pulling a dagger, but Ethan threw a stunner bolt. It hit her shoulder. She collapsed. Ethan rushed to Mira, cradling her. She poisoned the baby. Myra whispered. No, Ethan said. Not today. He reached into his bag and pulled out a human injection, a nanoserum designed for radiation victims. He had only 1 dose. He didn't know if it would work on an alien human baby, but he injected it into Myra's side. Silence. Then a kick. Heartbeat. A breath of life. Outside, the city was no longer a city. It was a battlefield of voices. People waved glowing flags with the baby's symbol. Walls were painted with a single word: unity. Soldiers refused orders. Children sang Ethan's name, Myra's name. The child's name, though it was not yet born. That night, the palace shook from within, and the king alone in his chamber looked out the window, watching fire rise from every corner of the capital. "The child," he muttered, "has already won the hearts of the people." A general entered. "Shall we prepare for war?" The king closed his eyes. "No," he said, "prepare the final." Law. Beneath the palace, Ethan and Myra held each other close. The child's heartbeat pulsed stronger than ever, but a dark wind was coming. Not blades. Not poison. Something worse. A law that could erase bloodlines forever. And now, time was running out. Dawn broke like never before over Orion Prime. But this was no ordinary dawn. The sun rose blood orange. The city smoked from rebellion, ash mixed with morning mist. Above the palace, the three moons still glowed faintly, one red, one white, one deep blue, as if they too waited for the final moment. In the queen's ruined garden, the ancient flowers bloomed again out of season, glowing soft and silver. An omen. And in the secret chamber below them, the heir was about to arrive. Myra lay on the crystal bed, her skin pale but glowing. Her breaths were deep, controlled. Her hands gripped Ethan's. His forehead touched hers. "She's ready," Myra whispered. Ethan nodded. "Then we face this together." Medical machines hummed softly. Old alien tech blended with Earth science, hacked together by Ethan over long nights. One screen showed a steady pulse, but outside, a storm was coming. At the Grand Tower, the king stood before the highest court of Orion. In his hands, a glowing black cube, the law of unmaking, an ancient rule never used before. It allowed the king to erase any bloodline deemed threatening to the throne. Once activated, it would wipe the baby's name, rights, and protection from the galaxy's records. Forever. The nobles argued. She carries royal blood. She carries human blood. She carries prophecy. But the king silenced them, all with a whisper. "I am not just a king, I am the law." And with trembling hands, he pressed the cube. Far below, the walls of the garden chamber shook. Myra gasped, her heartbeat slowing. The baby's pulse weakened. Ethan's eyes went wide. "Something's wrong. She's fading." Suddenly, boom! A bolt of golden light burst from the ceiling. The queen's statue above shattered. From the light stepped a figure cloaked in flame, a woman, tall, glowing with ancient power. Myra gasped. "Mother?" The spirit of the old queen had returned. Her voice echoed in their minds. "You carry the child of peace. You will not face this alone." She lifted her hand and the pulse returned. The baby kicked again, and Myra screamed, not in fear, but with strength. This was it. The heir was coming. Outside, citizens flooded the streets. They had heard of the law of unmaking, and they were done being ruled by fear. They held torches, drums, flags. One symbol united them all. A baby surrounded by two stars, one human, one alien, the heir of two worlds. Inside the garden chamber, the child was born as the three moons aligned. Once more. Not with a cry, but with a soft hum. A sound that pulsed in the floor, in the trees, in the stars. The baby's eyes opened, one green, one silver. It looked at Ethan, then Myra, then up toward the sky, as if it knew something no one else did. Ethan held the child in his arms. "You're here," he whispered. "You made it." Myra, tired but smiling, nodded. Unity, that's her name. But the celebration was short. Soldiers burst into the chamber led by the king himself. He raised his blade. "Step away from the creature." Ethan stood between the child and the king. "She's your granddaughter. She's a threat. She's the future." Myra, still weak, rose to her feet. "You can't stop what's already begun." The people's chants echoed through the chamber walls. "Unity! Unity, unity. The king hesitated, then he dropped his sword. He walked forward, slow, heavy. He reached toward the baby. She blinked once, then smiled. A single tear ran down the king's face. She is light. Outside, the crowd watched in silence as the king stepped onto the balcony holding the child in his arms. He raised her to the morning sky. 1,000 voices roared with joy. For the first time in centuries, hope had returned. 1 week later, Ethan and Mayra stood before the royal council. The child, now wrapped in cloth from both Earth and Orion, sat in Ethan's arms. "My time as king is over," Zaltar announced. "From today, I name Unity as future ruler of Orion. Let her lead both bloods into peace." The nobles bowed. Even the priests bowed. And far above, on distant planets, others were watching. An ancient empire. A sleeping race. Hidden eyes, they whispered. The hybrid lives. The stars will shift again. Back in the queen's garden, flowers continued to bloom. Myra smiled. Ethan kissed his daughter's head, and the child, half human, half alien, reached toward the sky. As if she already knew that she didn't just belong to one world. She belonged to all of them.